Hello everyone, welcome to another Android development tutorial. In this video, we're going to be talking about activities and fragments. And then we're going to actually make a fragment and display it in our app. Okay, so what is an activity first? An activity is a screen. Essentially, that's the basic definition of an activity. It's a screen. And then a fragment is typically a portion or all of that screen. You can think of a fragment you can think of fragments and activities similar to tables and tablecloths. So an activity is a table and a fragment is a tablecloth. The activity holds the fragment, and multiple fragments can be navigated to and from and switched out and replaced while in the same activity. And so Google has recommended that there is one base activity, and the screens in the app are used as fragments. Okay, so let's take a look at the documentation. Here is an infograph, or I guess a picture regarding fragments. So here's a fragment here are fragments in one single activity in a tablet. This is a master detail flow. So this is one fragment for the list, and then another fragment for the detail. So you click on an item, and then it displays the item in this list. And then here's the same functionality, the same flow, but on a handset. So we have fragment A, selecting an item, going to fragment B. However, both fragment A and fragment B are in one activity. And in this case, it says that fragment A contains activity A contains fragment A, and activity A contains fragment B. However, we can have, like I said, we can have one activity that displays fragment A, and then we can navigate completely to fragment B. So this could all be one activity. All right, so let's make a fragment. So we can go ahead and in our base folder, we can double click or right click and find new and find fragment, and we'll just do blank fragment. Okay, and then we can uncheck these two so we get as clean of a fragment as possible. This includes interface callbacks and fragment factory methods, so we don't need that boilerplate code, and we can call it my fragment. Okay, so after we finish, it'll get that set up. We can actually get rid of this, and here we have the onCreateView method in this fragment. And a fragment has its own lifecycle as well. I'll include in the description the lifecycle methods for a fragment. But this fragment now, we have this, this method. It creates the view similar to an activity, and then it inflates a layout. So the layout is, in this case, it's the XML file, fragment my, which is an odd naming convention, but that's just kind of what I chose. So we can go back, and in the activity now, we can see we have nothing, so we can go ahead and add a fragment. And we'll just do match parent for all of this, and we need an ID. All right, we'll format this a little bit. There we go. And we can say ID, and we could call this fragment container. Okay. And then we can actually map the class directly to, or we can actually map this fragment container directly to the fragment class. So right here, by saying Android name, and then it gives us a recommendation for a fragment, we can just hit enter, and so we have this fragment now referring to this, which is this right here is our package name, and then inside of our package name we find my fragment, and there it is. And so it's pointing now to this fragment class. Alright, so now we can go into our XML file. It has a blank string, so we could just say my fragment, and then we can actually change this from a frame layout to a constraint layout, and then we can change this to wrap content, and let's give it a couple of constraints here. We'll just center it mainly. Alright, now after we've given it our constraints, we can make the text size very large just so we can see it. Alright, and we should be good. We'll leave it without an ID, and we will now go ahead and run the app. So let's recap really quick while this is building. We have our fragment. Inside of our fragment, we have our very basic create onCreateView method. So if we wanted to include things, you could just say val root. In fact, actually, it's best not to include anything in the onCreateView method in a fragment. If you wanted to treat it as onCreate and include something in here, as you would an activity, in the fragment you would just say on view created. So after the view has already been created, then you can say print line whatever. Okay. Alright, now let's take a look at our emulator. Oh, I believe that's the wrong one. And there we go. Oh, that was interesting. But there we have it. We have our fragment, and we have it displaying. We have our toolbar, and we are good to go. So join me in the next video, and we'll be diving into some more Android development principles. Look forward to seeing you guys.